Bustin' makes me feel good. Depot Devoid.
Depot Devoid!
Bustin' makes me feel good. Depot Devoid. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hey, it's Matt here. I just needed to pop in before we really get this episode started to provide a tiny bit of context. This episode about the movie Ghostbusters is being released in June of 2025, but as some of you have probably figured out by now, Ted and I were recording the Depot Devoid for about 2 years before we actually started editing them or showing them to anyone, and then proceeded to release them in absolutely no order whatsoever. The episode that we released right before this one about Hedwig and the Angry Inch, that was the last episode we recorded. Right before that, we put out 5 episodes about Canadian movies that we recorded and released in almost entirely chronological order, but once in a while, things come out just way out of left field, and most of the time it doesn't matter. But because of what we go into in this episode, I wanted to let you know. If you remember the Spaceballs episode, which we recorded in November of 2023, released way after that. That was the episode that we recorded the day that I found out my dog, the doctor, was dying of bone cancer. And then, for obvious reasons, we didn't record for a few weeks. This episode was recorded in December, and that is the episode we recorded next. So this episode, recorded in December 2023, has kind of a lot to do with the death of my dog, and you should probably know that going in, because that's not something I would want to listen to without any warning. And also, just because if you've been listening to the show, it might be confusing. I don't want you to know I don't have another dog dying. The dog that we adopted right after that is still alive and well. Everything's great. But yeah, a couple of years ago when we put this one into the old computer banks, things were not great. But hey, this is about Ghostbusters. This is about ghosts. Depot Devoid is about our brother, who we lost before we started the show. A lot of ghosts here. We are a couple of haunted dudes, and welcome to the show.
Bustin' makes me feel good.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Doesn't it make everyone feel good? Isn't that just the whole point of bustin'?
It's one of the most unfortunate lyrics of that song.
There are some things about Ghostbusters that land a bit differently than maybe they did back in the day.
It's true, but this is Depot Devoid, and I'm Ted Fagan, introducing my brother Matt.
And I am Matt Fagan, recently introduced by my brother Ted. And we're going ostensibly to talk about some Ghostbusters, which I think was originally my idea. And I think I had a really specific idea when I brought it up, and then I watched it again, and it was, I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about Ghostbusters. And let me preface it by saying, I love Ghostbusters. I mean, it's very funny. There are many hilarious things in Ghostbusters, and I don't know how many of those things would be hilarious if I watched it today for the first time. It's it is an engine of laughter that is fueled almost entirely by nostalgia, I think. But it is hard to actually step back far enough to just be objective about Ghostbusters, which I think is what I wanted to do. And I'm going to have to acknowledge that that is not really possible for me to do.
It's unavoidable that it's a nasty bad movie that could never be made again the way that it was, and I love it, but it's bad.
It's got great chemistry between the leads. There's great comic timing. There are so many things that work in Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know. Also, like I've been in a really weird mood lately. So watching Ghostbusters, which has so many fond memories from childhood and which I started to watch in the last couple of weeks specifically because I was kind of like having negative feelings about it. So I came at it weird, and also like chronologically, I don't know how any of these episodes are going to land. The last time we recorded was what, 3 weeks ago?
Sounds about right.
And it was right before Thanksgiving, and it was the day that I found out that my dog had bone cancer. And then 11 days later, he was dead. So it was a very emotionally turbulent time.
Absolutely.
So I want that to cast a horrifying pall over this discussion for anybody who is listening. Please, as you revisit your memories and laughter of Ghostbusters, be constantly haunted by the thought of my dog who died for you to watch Ghostbusters.
Don't worry, Matt. I'm always haunted by the fact that I've got our brother dead on my kitchen table.
Yeah. That was another weird thing about that process is having to our vet came to our home and did it there so that doctor my dog's name was the doctor, so the doctor could pass in our house where he was comfortable and knew everyone.
It's a
And
much better way.
and yes, and obviously it was still the worst thing that has ever happened to anyone in history. And it's a terrible thing to have to do. And then to talk to you about it, and in that moment of even discussing it, being aware of like the fact that you had to do the same thing for our brother, which is like an incomparable horror. It was just a very I mean, that it's a great way to approach Ghostbusters, I think, is what I'm saying. Since we are haunted,
I would turn the world upside down and do everything in my power to undo what happened to Ian. But
holy
I
shit,
can't.
right?
And unfortunately, I'll always be haunted with knowing that I said the words, everyone who is going to get here is here. Shut him down.
Bustin' makes me feel good.
It's having to make that call. I mean, holy
It
shit,
sucks.
dude. It's right. And I going into this, when we found out that this was what we were looking at, was cancer. And I think that I think the doctor was optimistic with us. It would never did he imply that this would be anything other than fatal.
Right.
There was perhaps an optimistic timeline that was proffered. And so I said to myself, I am not going to make him stay too long. And I mostly lived up to that. But I had also, I mean, it was also, there was a holiday because it was right before Thanksgiving. And so it became clear within about a week after getting that diagnosis that this was going to happen faster than we had originally planned. And so I was like, okay, we're going to give him a great day on Thanksgiving. Where I scheduled, I called the doctor on Monday, and I scheduled the event for Friday. And unfortunately, by the time we actually got to Wednesday, the doctor was no longer really able to eat. And the whole point of letting him be there through Thanksgiving was that he was going to get to have all of the turkey and stuffing and pie and anything else that he wanted and have a really pleasant time. And he just got so much worse so fast, but I couldn't actually change the timeline because of the holiday. And so he definitely stayed at least a couple of days longer than he probably needed to. And I wish that had not panned out that way. But yeah, I hated having to do that. I mean, I just, holy fuck, like I never again do I want to have to face that. I say, having already adopted another dog.
And that's okay. It's okay. And actually, Matt, I gotta tell you, a decade ago, I honestly was terrified about the event that you had. I I was very much worried because you're an incredibly caring person and very much in your own area, wrapped up with that as your specific sphere of life. And a decade ago, I was like, holy shit, Matt's got this dog and he loves him. How bad is it going to get when that dog goes?
And that was something I was aware of pretty early on. But what the fuck are you gonna do? Like,
love that
not
puppy.
love the dog?
Yeah, no, love that puppy. I
It
was I was terrified
oh,
of what that event would be, and I know that it's been very hard.
it was
Uh,
so bad. And I mean, I knew that it would be, but I mean, there's no way you can, even if you've gone through the exact same thing before, there's no way to really be prepared. It's because it's just gonna fucking happen, and there's nothing
yep,
that you can do that's gonna mitigate that. Like, the only thing that was in my power to do was to decide when and where it was going to happen, and I was very grateful for having that luxury. Like,
right,
he didn't it wasn't some horrible accident that took him from us. It was something where I was able to say, I can do this at home, and I can be in charge of making him comfortable and not being afraid in the last moments of his life. But that doesn't actually make it any easier when he's injected and suddenly his head falls into your lap and he's still there, but he can't move inside his own body.
right.
And for the rest of my life, I will feel that impact from when he fell. And it just comes back to me over and over. And it always will. And I know it always will, because every other bad thing that ever happened to us is still there and still happens in my mind. When he was attacked by that dog in Candy Cane Park and it tore up his arm, and he ended up being in bandages and a cone for weeks and weeks, years ago, I still have flashbacks of exactly what that looked like when I was fighting to free him from this dog that was unattended and much bigger than him. And so I know that moment is going to keep coming back to me. And there is, I feel conflicted to say, a weird relief in having a new dog in our lives to balance that strange emptiness that's always going to kind of be there.
And I'm very glad that you have that opportunity.
And I feel weird about it because it happened really fast. And there's culturally, we have this idea that you have to mourn for a certain amount of time about every sad thing that happens to you before you can do anything to fix it. And I gotta say, like, coming into the, like, I brought the doctor into my relationship with Bill, and they developed their own absolutely personal relationship separate from me. And honestly, like, he was part of Doctor's life for half of his life. Like, Doctor was 12 and a half. And the first picture I have of them playing together was right after Doctor turned 6. And he lived here for the last 4 years. And the I think when we first started seeing each other, there was an idea in my head that whatever happened when Doctor went away, Bill would be kind of a rock for me. And then this happened, and they became like the best of friends. And so instead, he was just as devastated, and it was horrible. And for days, we just drifted around the house like fucking ghosts, and there was no direction. Like we didn't do anything because that was like why should I put on pants? Like, I didn't have to go for a walk at 7 o'clock this morning. And it just turned out that we had become people that have to have a dog in our house. That became very clear very quickly. And
you need that
and
balance.
Yes, absolutely. And we were very fortunate that we found a dog at a shelter who turned out to be a great fit, and who needed somebody, and just, kind of weird, and like needed somebody to maybe give him a little bit of special attention. But we needed that. Holy shit. Like it was like we were just fucking dead for a week of just nothing.
It's rough. I mean, Lexington, he's in yeah, he's limping over here right now. Good boy. And it's rough. And I know I told Emily last night or the night before, I can't remember which. I'm giving him 18 months. That's about all we got left for him.
Yeah.
And he's getting older, and he's a big old beefy boy. But that's about all he's got, and he's getting more limpy, and the parts that bother him, he's all right after he gets going, but it's becoming an evident thing that he's going to be going, and it's gonna suck, and
it is.
We're gonna have to shut him down eventually, and that,
you have to be able to make that decision, and
yeah.
when the right time is.
You know what, though? I'm gonna be a hell of a lot more okay with doing that than shutting down our brother.
I think that is fair. I absolutely do.
I have become. I hated it when it happened, when Ian went into the hospital. I told Emily, "Hey, I am going to have to disconnect myself from everything now. I will be here, but I am not going to be here. I am scared because I don't know how far it's going to go, but I am going to be a robot now.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to
Because you
with.
had to.
Yep.
And I don't I mean, looking back, part of me, I'm sure you understand that I was only able to do it because I knew I had to. There was not another way for it to happen,
Yep.
and it had to happen.
Yep.
And I I don't I mean, I don't know how I got through it. Um it was awful, and all I could do was hold him and talk to him, and I, and just know that it was a decision that had to be made because it was so clear that he needed to go.
Right.
He wasn't who he was anymore. He was disappearing inside his skin, and it was devastating to see, and all that was on the plate would have been more of that. And why put him through it? Why put any of us through it? And I I tried to figure out beforehand what was sort of the metric that I would use to make that decision of when it had to happen. And I don't know what it ended up being. I just know that there was, by Monday morning, like I knew, and watching him struggle with the simplest things. And then someone said, I don't even know who said this, um, that they had made a decision with one of their dogs that the right time was when potty became stressful or humiliating for their dog. And we were right there, you know, and it was like, it couldn't, one more day would have been way too much.
Yep.
And holy shit, I wish that I had more time.
We all do.
Death is lame, dude. I wish somebody would make a hilarious movie about it.
I knew it'd be great, if there was a movie where, when you end up shutting somebody off, they come back.
It's
Except
actually it's
when
interesting
they
how we
when they
deal
come
with
back,
death like
Matt,
that.
it's bad. If you bury
Most
them in
of the
the
time,
cemetery up over the hill.
there are not a lot of movies about people coming back and everything is great. That's
Yeah.
that's not usually the theme.
I that it's a good thing that Ian got cremated. We paid for that to happen because I would have pet cemeteried him. I would have.
I'm sure there's at least one or two around there.
I would have pet sit.
Would
And that
you
would
would
have
you
got
have
bad.
buried him in his Ghostbusters outfit in the pet cemetery?
If he hadn't sold it, yes.
Damn it.
He made one for him, one for India, and another one just for selling. And they all got sold, I believe. So
nice.
Yep.
Yeah,
He did well.
he had a good Ghostbusters outfit. I liked it.
Bustin' makes me feel good. I get it. I get it.
So, what do you remember the first time you saw Ghostbusters?
The first time I saw Ghostbusters was actually, I want to say, at Papa's house.
On a VHS rental?
It was a 1989 film, if I remember correctly, because part of me wants to say I watched it on Fifth and Golden, but that was not the right timeline.
Well, it came out in 84, and I'm not sure when it came out on home video, because things came out at weird times
Yeah,
back then.
I think it came out in '89 on home video.
I'm
So
sure it would have been
maybe
on TV by then, but
I might have
yeah,
seen it on TV then, on Fifth and Golden.
I
But
did. I definitely saw it in the theater when I was 10 and really loved it. Um, it is a hilarious movie when you're 10. Like there's just nothing wrong with it. It's
yeah, especially because you're 10 and you don't get the blowjob part. And
oh
think,
no, I feel like I kind of did,
what?
but it was spectacular. I remember actually here's a weird, odd, specific thing that I recall. There were a number of funny movies coming out that summer, and I remembered seeing bits of previews for things I wanted to see, but I didn't really remember what movie was what, and I had conflated in my head bits of comedy from the previews of Ghostbusters. And do you remember the movie Top Secret with Val
Oh,
Kilmer?
yeah, fabulous.
So I remember specifically our Aunt Patty telling me that she had seen Ghostbusters, and I couldn't remember what movie that was because I hadn't seen it yet. I just seen bits of the trailers, and I asked if that was the one where the soldier fell from the top of the tower and then shattered like ceramic at the bottom. But that was from Top Secret.
Top
But I
Secret
think like a
was
week later, I saw Ghostbusters.
God damn it, we're gonna have to watch Top Secret
Top
and talk
Secret
about
is it problematic, but uh,
it's more than
worth
problematic.
worth a discussion, perhaps. I feel like it could be more objective about Top Secret than I can about Ghostbusters, and also there are fewer things about Top Secret that like are really really good that it doesn't make you want to forgive as much.
No, it's a movie that knows it's bad in its own time.
Right, and it's a movie that I can enjoy because I saw it then, and I can show it to like I can share it with Bill because he's 20 years older than me, but I wouldn't share it with like your son.
And the boobs that glow, it's special.
Yeah, it's not appropriate. Ghostbusters is a better movie than that.
It is. It somehow has its pants at least half up.
It is definitely like it is less vulgar than many popular comedies of the time. At least less vulgar in a crass sexual way. But
Yeah.
but Venkman is not a good guy.
No, not at
Let's
all.
I'm gonna hot take Ted.
All right, well,
Venkman is not a good guy.
let's introduce
Change my
the
mind.
beginning of the movie and start from there then, since we haven't actually gotten to the meat that is Ghostbusters. The beginning of the movie, we got Peter Venkman doing his card test. What are those cards?
Oh, I don't remember what those are called, but
I
yeah,
can't either. I actually have a set of them
the
that I got for
psychic
Emily.
flashcards.
Yeah, I got a set of them for Emily actually a couple of years ago, and they're actually quite a bit of fun. We played with them, and I got over 50% on them a few times, which is
Well, then clearly you have amazing psychic abilities,
no, I
just like the
absolutely
sexy
don't.
blonde girl.
But if I'm getting over 50% on something that's got 6 different things to choose from, that's pretty cool. I don't think it means I have psychic abilities, but hey, I also grew up in a house.
Psychic abilities.
I also grew up in a house where I got locked in the stairwell when no one was there. Doors would lock and unlock and open.
There was never no one there, Ted.
When I told my story about the black-eyed kids, I listened to that a year or so ago again, and I appreciated when I said nobody else was in the house but me. Nobody else was in the house but me, which means that somebody else was there, and it was me. I just thought that that was kind of a fun one to wrap my
How
little
many
mind
of you?
around. At least me and the other me.
Good job, Other Barry.
Yeah, can't trust myself. Anyway, I like that one. That house was fucked up.
Yes, it was that was a weird house to grow up in, and
And Papa wouldn't talk about it.
the pictures you found online of what it looked like more currently are super terrifying.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Papa would not acknowledge that anything weird was going on, and he would always yell at me for like leaving all of the lights and the TV on, even though like he was the last one out of the house when we left, and he knows good and well that all the lights and the TV were turned off and the door was locked. And then we would get home and the door was open and everything was on. And
yeah,
he knew that. Come on, dude.
he knew.
There's something going on. Just
and I tried to talk to him about it a couple of times. Specifically, one time I was talking to him about it, and it was like, so all this stuff happens. What's your opinion about it? I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, but Papa, the lights turn on and off, and the doors open and close. TV turns on and off. I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
yeah, the denial didn't really help anything, did it?
No, I wanted to get his opinion because he built that house. How could he not know? And he did know, but it was just one of those things he wasn't gonna.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had to know, and because mom knew, like she remembered from when she was a kid. So, I mean, it was a thing that everybody knew, obviously, and maybe maybe he used to be willing to talk about it. Maybe something happened. I don't know. I mean, or maybe the reason that the house was weird and haunted was because Papa murdered a whole bunch of people. And so that's why he didn't want to talk about it.
I think that Grandma killed someone.
Or that, honestly, yeah, that.
And I think that Grandpa knew about it.
Absolutely could have happened that Grandma filled the place with corpses.
Well, I think that Grandma probably killed someone, and I think that Papa knew about it. And I also do believe that I am a teenage girl who has my own poltergeist problems. And probably so are you, Matt. You're a teenage girl with poltergeist problems. So
I certainly was at the time.
We're just gonna have to deal with the fact that our grandparents killed one person and that person is buried underneath the raspberry bushes. That's where Grandma said that the dog was buried, which I assume is a human.
Okay.
And
okay.
So if we wanted to go in and investigate that, then we could, but I don't think there's any real channels to pursue.
It would be interesting to know.
It would, but if we're coming at it from the point of well, our grandparents killed this person and we're also teenage girls with poltergeist problems, I'm pretty sure that people aren't going to listen to us.
Nobody believes me. I believe you, Tommy.
Probably not. But I mean, maybe we could just get the cooperation of whoever is in the current ownership of the raspberry bushes.
I'm down with that.
Maybe they would be interested in knowing why there's a poltergeist problem.
And also, are they experiencing the same things?
I mean, it could be a familial connection, maybe they're quiet without the descendants there.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting jam. So
I mean, maybe busting could make them feel good.
Busting makes me feel good.
But
it's great.
But who are you gonna call?
Ghost busting make me feel good.
That's a terrible sounding song. I wish that we had like an awful rap version to play over our closing credits.
And we could always just throw in just for fun.
Does that make it 10 times sexier? Like ghost blowjobs? Even though everybody knows that ghosts are cold, so that just like doesn't even make sense.
I don't know. I mean, like ice cold blowjob. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I feel like maybe we're getting a little bit off track.
You're
But I don't
probably
know that
right.
there's that much that has to be. I mean, everything has been said about Ghostbusters,
It's
so
no
so
day
I don't know how much we need to actually talk about like the specifics. Um, but I found like when I was watching it most recently, the biggest thing that I was having an issue with is that Venkman is only medium funny because he's such a dick. Like I still like Bill Murray is delightful to watch, and his chemistry
He
with the
had
other
no
SNL
love for the
guys.
movie.
Oh no, but he's really good in it. But I don't think he cared about Venkman as a character. And the weirdest thing for me watching it narratively is that I and I'm sure there is probably like secondary information out there that like covers all of this. Um, I don't understand what Venkman brings to the table as a scientist, and I don't understand how he and Ray and Egon like how did they meet and become colleagues, because it they don't seem like the kind of people that would be likely to naturally intersect. And the dynamic is that Ray and Egon would probably never have other social interactions if Venkman wasn't there to lubricate them, because he's able to talk to actual human beings. So I kind of understand the purpose that he serves socially. But other than that, like, what is his deal? Like, he clearly doesn't care about the science, because when we
Not at
meet
all.
him, he's faking science. Like, he doesn't give a shit. So does he? I mean, he's obviously willing to go with it once to become successful, but like before that happens, does he believe in the supernatural even,
No, he
or is he
doesn't.
just like playing? Like, what the fuck is his deal? Who is he? Who is Peter Venkman?
He doesn't give two shits. And that's
It,
why we're going to have to actually watch the second movie.
here's the yeah. I mean, this is the other thing is I feel like some of the well maybe a lot of the weird kind of nebulous animosity that I feel toward Ghostbusters is not actually about the movie Ghostbusters. It is about the legacy of Ghostbusters and the reverence that people have for it that seems largely misplaced. And a lot of it has to do with what happens once Ghostbusters 2 drops. But Ghostbusters largely funny. Like I still like watching it, and I feel like the comedy of it holds up enough that new audiences can enjoy it, but it's just not, people treat it like it is perfect, and it is not that. And I'm finding that very frustrating, and it's making it harder for me to actually just enjoy Ghostbusters on its own merits, of which there are several.
It's got almost legs under it, but it's not good.
I mean, I don't know if I would. I mean, I don't think it's bad, and I think that it stands. I mean, again, everything is so relative compared to the other movies of its moment. It is head and shoulders above a lot of them. but it is not an unassailable masterpiece. And perhaps we should take a break, catch our breath before we delve into why.
This is true, and we will resume momentarily. And now we're going to, as the McElroys say, go to the money zone. All right, this is Depot Devoid, and we're back from all of our
back from the dead.
advertisements. Yeah, all that shit. Anyway, so this movie.
Yeah, so tell me why it sucks.
Well, let's
Why
lay
is
out.
Ghostbusters the worst movie of the 80s?
Well, I mean, that's unfair.
Unequivocally. Worse than the direct-to-video Indiana Jones knockoff, Tennessee Buck.
I never saw that, but
No one did, not even me.
I did have, while I was going to college, when I transferred to University of Oregon, and I was going there, I had a professor who had a guest professor. I don't fucking know what it was. He came in for a day, and he was really upset about Indiana Jones because he was an anthropology professor, and his name was Montana Smith.
That's
It's not a joke.
stupid.
It's not a joke. He was really, really butthurt about it, and he shouldn't have been, because his time that he spent on talking shit about Indiana Jones and how it's not the way that things work, and he's not Indiana Jones, and that's not how he wasted too much time caring about his name. His name was Montana Smith.
Why didn't he just go by Monty and no one would ever know?
Or never fucking care about
Like,
it.
stop telling everyone that that's your name. Like,
Yeah.
no one gives a shit.
Yeah, it's like one of Ian's friends that he grew up with is now a science teacher at a high school, and he hates his middle name, which I don't remember what was, but he hated it so hard that he tells everybody that his middle name is Samantha.
Why don't you just not tell people?
Yeah,
Or
why
just
don't
say,
you
I don't
not
have a
give a
middle
fuck?
name.
Yeah.
Or say
Yeah.
my middle name is Rick. Like,
Yeah,
who's
I
gonna
had a
check?
math teacher. I had a math teacher who his name was Michael Moorhead, and he hated his middle name enough that he told everybody that his middle name was Craven.
Well,
I mean, that works with a last name Moorhead. That's
Yeah, but I
appreciable,
mean,
at least.
that's clearly just he took joy in that. Like, he would have said that no matter what his middle name was.
Yeah, but he also said that he accidentally shot the television in his parents' living room when he was a kid cleaning the gun because of a division problem. And I'm
But
pretty
he did
sure
not shoot the deputy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that division doesn't mean anything about not shooting the TV. I'm pretty sure that addition or subtraction might have helped a lot better than division.
I feel like maybe he just wanted to shoot the TV.
Well, and he also said, I shot the ding dang TV, which is pretty good. I mean, ding dang. Obviously,
So
he wanted it.
Was he earnest?
No, he was Michael Craven Moorhead.
Yeah, he sounds kind of Jim Varney-ish.
I don't trust him.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't give
And
him a gun.
I'm not inviting him over to watch TV.
No, and also Ghostbusters really kind of sucked.
So give us your top 3 things.
Okay. So this movie was a lot rapey. Doesn't stand up to the test of time in that department. They didn't communicate with each other at all. intelligently about anything. We had Winston show up, which is good, but did they just bring him out specifically to be like, we have a black man?
My understanding is, and this is sort of a famous like shitty thing that happened in Hollywood, and I don't know the details, but essentially the role of Winston was originally written for Eddie Murphy, and when Ernie Hudson was cast, his understanding was that he was going to be playing the same part that was written for Eddie Murphy. But after Eddie Murphy either walked on the project or didn't say yes, I don't know whether he was originally involved or not. Basically, once it was no longer Eddie Murphy, they cut most of the part.
Gotcha.
And Ernie Hudson has been famously and absolutely correctly like a bit salty about that for his entire career, because that's bullshit.
It is.
Because
It really
he's a
is.
good actor, and there's no reason that he couldn't have played a meteor part. So that's too bad. It would have been really interesting to see that. I mean, it also would have been interesting to see Eddie Murphy in the movie. At the time, in 1984, like Eddie Murphy was pretty hot shit and kind of at the top of his game. So that would have been cool too. But yeah, the part was basically reduced to nothing because they didn't care about it once it was no longer Eddie Murphy's role.
Gotcha. I did not know that. I had no idea that Eddie Murphy had any designs on it in the first place.
And I don't know if he did. I just know it was for him. He may or may not have ever actually been involved in the project. I'm sure I knew that information once upon a time. I don't care enough to even look it up now.
Well, there we go. We're just talking shit. It's good.
Yeah, and I say that is like I would consider myself a fan of Ghostbusters still. Like I think it's funny, and I like a
It
lot of
is.
people in it. Like Annie Potts is an absolute delight, and she's one of the many things that they just like fucked up in the sequel. But I really liked her in this movie as Janine. Janine is terrific. I love Rick Moranis. I love Rick Moranis in anything, but it was great
Rick
to see him
Moranis
in
is
this.
coming back to acting.
Like he's coming back from the dead.
Yes, they have resurrected him. He's coming back into another Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh. Huh.
How upset are you about that?
I feel like I want to reserve judgment until I know more.
I don't. I'm just mad that it's not Spaceballs 2.
I mean, maybe it secretly is.
It needs
Maybe
to,
it's a stealth Spaceballs sequel.
I'm upset about this being the thing that he's willing to come back for.
What if they shrink down so small that it's
Did they have little
effectively
Spaceballs?
another universe, and it turns out that the molecules of our universe are the planets of the Spaceballs universe?
Yeah, it present them. Present.
That's probably not going to be any worse than the actual sequel.
Present them.
I liked Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I thought it was funny. It's dumb, but it's funny, and I love shrunken people movies. I love any movie where they have giant practical props like that. My fear is if they're doing another one, it's going to be all a bunch of dopey CG that I don't care about anyway. But I'm like, why would Rick Moranis come back to acting after all of this time for something that was terrible? Like, there's got to be some reason he did it,
That's
right?
my concern.
Yeah. I want to reserve judgment, but I am not filled with hope. I really like Rick Moranis though, and he's terrific in Ghostbusters. He's one of the many
He was
things
one of the best
that
parts.
works about Ghostbusters. And it's just a small role. It's like kind of repetitive. It's like kind of a one note role, but he's like he makes the most out of it, and he's really funny.
He absorbs
I'm
that
I'm referring to
character
the
so
Lewis
well.
part and not the dog part. Like he's
Yeah, I mean, well, he wasn't the dog; he was the
well, you
Lewis.
you know what I mean. The
Yeah.
when he's Lewis before anything happens, his character is not exactly nuanced, but
No, he was perfect.
he elevates it. Like he makes it more than it is on the page.
Take off the
And
shoes.
I love him. And
Let me take
Sigourney
your
Weaver is
jacket.
such an improbable choice for a leading lady in this movie, and she is wonderful.
No,
And
and
all of these
she's
people are so good, and I just wish they didn't come back for the sequel because it's so diminishing.
well. That's part of the thing with Sigourney Weaver in that role is she's 40 years old at the time, and she was a wonderful leading lady. Usually, you try and cast people in their 20s these days,
Yeah,
and that's she was a wonderful, you know, middle-aged ish lady doing the part, and she was perfect
it was
for it.
a very like it was a realistic choice like
Yeah.
for this part. And again, she was way better than the role. She completely lifts it up, and her timing in her banter with Bill Murray is really really good. And it's, I mean, Sigourney Weaver hadn't done like a lot of she wasn't known for comedy, and she was absolutely delightful in this movie. It's unfortunate that the the part necessitates her just sort of being ogled and inappropriately romanced by Bill Murray, who I will give props, does not bang her when she is possessed.
Yes. And he says he wanted to.
It but he doesn't take advantage.
Yes, it was not an Animal House situation.
It's yeah. So that's unfortunately the bar. and and so that could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Um
I would not say that
yeah.
this is an okay movie if it had gone the Animal House route.
But it is yeah, it is more sexually restrained than the sequel is.
Thankfully, I don't remember the sequel much other than hating it.
It
Yeah, we'll get there.
well, it can accurately be called Ghostbusters 2: The Secret of the Ooze.
So when we review that movie, we're going to review it with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the same time and pretend
I
they're one and the same movie.
we should actually we
Wait,
should
no, no.
just watch.
Let's consider that an option. They're the same movie.
I mean, I'm willing to consider that. I do not remember the other version of Secret of the Ooze enough. I
Go
refuse
Ninja,
to
go
watch the other
Ninja,
ones
go,
around it.
go
I
Ninja,
don't want
go
to. I
Ninja,
tried
go.
watching TMNT a while ago, and I just couldn't do it. But I would watch the second one. I'd be willing to watch just the Secret of the Ooze and the Secret of the Ooze and discuss them as though they are the same or interchangeable.
I don't think I can actually do it.
Oh, you can.
I don't think I can. I think I would get really mad.
Well, I mean, just watching Ghostbusters 2 will do that.
I mean, it was hard enough watching Ghostbusters and not getting angry, which is honestly a very difficult process. It's
Well,
not a good movie.
I definitely do not have the anger response. I'm frustrated most of the time when I'm watching it, but there are still enough things that I appreciate, and I think a big part of that is um I love the fact that there is essentially a kaiju at the end of the movie, and miniature sets. Like that is totally my jam. So
It's fun.
it really is. And it's such this is what I love, is that Ghostbusters makes some really out of the box unusual choices that are they're so out of left field that like even the its own franchise is never able to replicate their success. Like all of the sequels and remake, like everything else about Ghostbusters keeps retreading the same elements, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, because they don't know how to do that kind of wild thing on their own. They don't have it in them. And Ghostbusters does some weird shit, some like legitimately weird things that still even now are like, wow, where did that even come from? And I appreciate those moments, and I appreciate the ensemble. But there seems to be a lot of folks who think that it just like it can't be improved upon. And that I don't understand.
Yeah, no, because it sucks. I love this movie. I do. But it sucks. It's a terrible, terrible film that's not well written. It's not got anything good going on for it. Uh, I appreciate the efforts that they put into it, but I mean, come on, blowing the fucking shooting the laser beam all over the place and not doing anything intelligently. Well, I mean, we already knew that that was going to be a thing. They put that bullshit on. Oh, I didn't bother telling you, but don't cross the streams. It would be very bad. Oh, let's cross the street. Clearly, that's the superhero moment in the end. It's horseshit.
It's very, very silly.
It's
It
poorly played out.
it's the reason that it works is because the cast is generally really good,
Yeah,
and they sell stuff that is not that great, and make it very enjoyable.
yeah.
But there seems to be a lack of willingness to acknowledge that, and I don't get like the reason that you hire a great cast is because they sort of fix this shit for you. And I would be willing to bet that most of the most quotable lines in this movie are ad-libbed by a really talented cast rather than being scripted by Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, and that's also another kind of fun one too, is Dan Aykroyd. Apparently, some of the bullshit tools that they use are things that are based off of his own work on being a weirdo who loves the
Oh
idea of
yeah.
ghost hunting.
Oh yeah,
And
this is absolutely inspired by like what he wishes he could be.
yeah, yeah. And
Which is great, and it's a great little idea. Like I mean, it's a very simple sort of high concept movie that I mean people responded to because it is a really fun, off the wall, accessible idea, and they did it in a way that was very enjoyable, and the special effects are pretty fun, and they were like a little different from what was going on at the time. But they still like, I love the puppeteering. It's like there's some fun stuff happening in this movie. That the practical effects I think still work. They're like I really like them. I know that some people have little patience for old-fashioned things like that, but I think they're really fun. I prefer stuff with puppets. So
yeah, and at the time, his whole plan for the movie when he was trying to write it was actually a lot bigger and more. Uh, it- they were going to have stuff on other planets
oh, he
and
always wants things to be
interdimensional bullshit.
way too fucking complicated.
Yeah, it wasn't something that was going to be able to work in the late 80s.
No, not at all. Not at all.
They're, to be fair, and not to be rude to Dan Aykroyd,
I think it's okay to be rude to Dan Aykroyd.
there wasn't a way to do what he wanted to do. He always had bigger designs than anything that was going to work out. His wheelhouse was huge, but there was not a
The
wheel to
world was
turn.
not ready for Dan Aykroyd's
The
vision.
world was not ready for Dan Aykroyd's vision, and realistically, it still isn't because it's dumb.
That is fair. I think what works in this movie mostly is just the dynamics between the people on the screen. And also, I cannot say enough about William Atherton as Walter Peck. William Atherton is one of the great 1980s movie villains. He plays Walter Peck in Ghostbusters. He plays I can't remember the guy's name. The shitty newscaster from the first two Die Hard movies, and Dr. Jerry Hathaway from Real Genius. He is just a shit. And he is so great at being just a shit. And he embraces it. And, like, you are never going to see William Atherton as a romantic lead. He just plays shits. And why shouldn't he? Because he's great at it. And he's probably a wonderful person. But he is a wonderful shit as the dickless Walter Peck.
Yeah,
And
no, he was wonderful at it for sure.
he's one of many people that works really well in this movie. The other stuff maybe not so much, but he's so good. He's so good. But but like I said, I watch this and I can't separate myself from those impressions that I got. You know, it was so funny to 10-year-old Matt. And there are just a handful of movies that I still access that impression whenever I watch them. And Ghostbusters is one. I think Real Genius is actually one of those too.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Hey, Real Genius and Top Secret are just like the the poles of Val Kilmer's 80s comedy career. Like, it's so strange.
Yeah, I love Real Genius, and I keep thinking about that movie and what's that other one? If Looks Could Kill.
Is that with Richard Grieco?
I have no fucking idea who's in it.
I don't think I've seen it, but I sort of remember it being a movie.
I'm definitely thinking of If Looks Could Kill. I haven't seen it in so long. Maybe we should watch that, actually. It's a terrible movie, I guarantee you. It's bad.
I'm sure, because I feel like it stars Richard Grieco, and there's no way that a movie with Richard Grieco can be anything but bad.
I don't even know what a Richard Grieco is.
He was the guy that wasn't Johnny Depp on 21 Jump Street.
I didn't watch 21 Jump Street.
No, neither did I. I've never seen an episode of 21 Jump Street, but that's who Richard Grieco is.
I don't know. But it's bad. It's a bad movie with bad people, and it's fucking hilarious.
Is it better than Ghostbusters?
You put me on the spot here. No.
What would make Ghostbusters better? What would be like the fundamental changes that could fix Ghostbusters? Or what would be the smallest things you could do to improve Ghostbusters? The smallest and most effective.
First thing, no ghost blowjob.
That's I feel like that's a gimme.
Pretty
That's
solid.
like the free space on Ghostbusters improvement bingo.
Yeah, pretty solid.
I think we should play Ghostbusters improvement bingo. That sounds amazing.
I mean, that would be good. Yeah. No, Boston makes me feel good. That's perverse. I don't like it. We don't need any of that. Let's introduce another metric to it of when my son was young.
Mhm.
We watched this movie and he sang the song and it was beautiful. I ain't afraid of no goat. So yeah, let's bring a goat in there for somebody to not be scared of. I think that's it.
I'm not sure if that smooths over any of the narrative roughness.
Oh, we don't need any of that. I was just going over the other parts. I ain't afraid of no goat.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What about you? How do you improve it?
See, I feel like, again, most of my improvements would actually be changes to the story as it progresses later, because they make a lot of huge missteps. But my biggest things that I would do with, and I'm just gonna be straight about this. Like, I'm not gonna not try to be funny about it. I'm just gonna say the story overall, you can work with this storyline.
But you can't have Gozer the Gozerian. You really need to have something smarter.
Okay, but
that.
that's not the storyline. That's just stupid details. I can work with the storyline as it exists, more or less, but I would absolutely put a lot more thought process into who the main characters are as people and how they relate to each other. And I would let that inform more of the scene work in the movie, because, like I said, I do not understand how the three white guys fit together. I understand how Ray and Egon fit together. I don't understand how the three of them fit together. I need to understand that to believe in this story. And that's my big sticking point. And to that end, I think you need to change Peter Venkman into someone who is not just
a crash
a
shitball,
mouthy scallywag, but someone who actually, like, he can be that sort of weird, funny college guy, but he needs to not have like a medium rapey vibe to him.
and it's bad.
He does. And that's, again, I feel like there's a relativity thing where it's like, well, he's probably less rapey than some of the main characters in the other teen movies that are happening, right? But it's like, it brings it down a little bit. And I want to know, like, the whole like thing with the blonde girl in the first scene where he's faking the ESP science so that he can take her on a date. It's just
so icky.
And that is how we meet him. Like, we see that the movie starts in the library with the ghost, and we see the ghost. I like the fact that it starts in the library. But then we meet Peter Venkman while he's being disgusting. And I don't want to, if I'm going to have to do that, then I absolutely need him to grow as a character in a really meaningful way that I can clock. And I don't see that. And
no,
that's a huge
the best
problem.
that we get out of him is he doesn't have sex with
Right. He doesn't fuck the possessed girl.
Yeah.
Should not be like the best character trait that
And
I can
that's
point out.
that's
And
the
that's sort
best.
of who he is. I
Yeah.
want, if I'm gonna like, if that first scene happens, then what I need going forward is him to begin embracing the science once he realizes that this shit is real. Like, maybe see that and be like, wait a minute, okay, I'm actually on board. Like, maybe he used to believe in it, and then because of years and years of meaningless research where nothing happened, he's lost faith in something that used to be really interesting to him. So maybe this brings it back. So maybe we see that character arc. Maybe like when he meets Dana, maybe that starts to change him as a person. He's like, wait a minute, I've been like spinning my wheels, like faking ESP and chasing tail, but here's someone who's like interesting and challenging. Like you don't have to turn it into like a romantic drama, but make him a character instead of like a gross thing.
Yeah,
Because I
no,
want
and
to like him. He's
it's
likable.
100% they make him bad.
That is totally unnecessary.
Yep.
I don't need that. It does not help me. That's basically that's what I would do. And I feel like if you start at that point, then most of the other things I have a problem with are going to begin to change based on that foundation. That's how I would change Ghostbusters.
It would be better that way. But we are approaching the end here, and we should say that they had a really stupid falling into a hole with the earthquake bit, and then they ascend to the tower.
Yeah, that was weird. I forgot about that.
And they get up on the tower, and then there's the "Are you a god?" Then
That's all fine. That's a very memorable scene.
Yeah, it was fun, but
It's also a bit chaotic, and I feel like a lot of that's like some of that mythology could have been explored a little and made a little more clear. And I mean, they're kind of glossing over it a bit quickly, and that's fine. I get it, but it's just the movie is a bit out of balance in its storytelling.
And I wish it
And
was something better than Gozer the Gozerian.
it's also Gozer the Destructor.
Well, that's better than Gozer the Gozerian.
Well, I mean, do you really know anything about Gozerians?
Yes, Matt, I am an anthropologist.
So what is TED short for then?
Theodore, obviously.
Montetta.
I am Ted Montana Jones.
I'm not sure that I believe in your credentials, but they
They're right
probably
here.
make you a more effective anthropologist than the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, I fell asleep to that last night and I fucking hated it.
How far did you get? Because it's shitty.
I don't know. I fell asleep and then I woke back up and then I fell asleep and I woke back up.
Did you see anything besides chase scenes?
There were chase scenes and then they were in ancient Rome or some shit. And I was really mad.
Close enough. Yeah, it was remarkably bad.
Yeah.
It's
you know
weird
what?
revisiting
It
all of this
didn't-
legacy shit from the 80s. Like, I mean, they got the Ghostbusters, we got apparently Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, we got Indiana Jones.
There was no Shia LaBeouf.
I actually didn't mind how they dealt with that. That was one of the few
I
things
didn't
that
even
was
see
like,
how they dealt with it.
oh, it's he died in the war. So yeah, it worked. Like, because the whole thing is in 1969. He died in Vietnam. So it was like,
All right.
yeah, and it was that was one of the few things that actually gave narrative weight to anything that happened in that movie. Otherwise, it was all just like endless unnecessary chase scenes. And then weirdly, there's a bit sort of like in the middle of Act 3 where some story happens, and they only like they go through it so fast that it's like you have to rewind and turn on the subtitles to actually get anything out of it. I'm like, okay, why couldn't we have cut like 42 minutes of chase scenes from the beginning of this movie and like taken a couple of minutes to actually tell the only thing that occurs that has story to it? Jesus Christ. Like, how did this even happen? I could not believe, like, apparently I'm really mad about it.
I love
And
that
I was not even infested.
we're mad about Indiana Jones and we're talking
I
about
didn't think that I
Ghostbusters.
was going to care that much. Like, I didn't mind the other ones, but God, like, I was one of those people that like heard people ranting about Crystal Skull, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was just a dumb Indiana Jones. It wasn't that bad. This one, I'm just like, I just want to punch it. Ugh. So long. It was so long.
2 hours and 37.5 minutes.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Good God. I
Unacceptable.
won't be watching that one again.
Yeah, I will. Just to
I
be
honestly, ugh. It made Crystal Skull look so good.
mad. Yeah, but this one didn't have Shia LaBeouf, or at least during my time being awake while watching.
Yeah, no, he's not in it at all. He's mentioned. But that's, yeah, I mean, it's not like I have any love for Shia LaBeouf, but he didn't drag me down in Crystal Skull as much as he does in other things. So
All right. Well, Matt, we've got 3 minutes left to kill this bad Ghostbusting movie.
All right. Well, mad props to the kaiju at the end. I love
Loved
that.
it.
I have
loved it.
nothing but praise for that part of the climax. I think it's fantastic. It makes me increasingly irritated that they keep revisiting it. Because there's no reason for it to be anywhere but this movie.
I love how Venkman had very little marshmallows left on him, and everybody else.
Like he had like a little spot on his shoulder.
Yeah, everybody else was all fucked up with
That
it,
is,
and he was like,
that's an
nothing.
excellent joke. There's and that's a great little joke in this movie. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. It's just one little spot. Everyone else head to fucking toe.
It's great.
So now the question is, do we have to watch the second one?
We already established that, unfortunately, we do.
I'm not. Yeah, okay. I mean, fair enough. And it is important to establish, like, one of the reasons that I can't respect the people who had such a negative reaction to the Kristen Wiig led remake of Ghostbusters with like the all-female cast is because Ghostbusters already happily shat all over its own legacy with its own awful sequel.
Yeah.
So why do you think that Ghostbusters cares? Because they don't, obviously, because they made Ghostbusters 2: The Secret of the Ooze.
Matt, thanks for bringing this on. You're welcome. I'm gonna make you watch the second one.
All right, I probably have a copy of it around here somewhere.
All right.
I'm not watching it on Christmas.
Well, I'll make you talk about it. Either way.
Fine.
I love you.
I love you too, obviously. Great. Thanks.
Deal with it.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Go to hell.
I'll take you with me.
Fine, I'll pack. Bye, Ted.
Bye.
The Depot Devoid is that place your mind goes when you've lost your train of thought, but you haven't found a new one. The Depot Devoid Podcast is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan because he died and we miss him. Find our full video episodes at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube. On social media, you can find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on Blue Sky, and for now, still on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can listen to the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms.